17 seconds that shattered dreams and built a dynasty forever. The 2013 Stanley Cup Final was a battle of two hockey titans, Boston and Chicago. With 90 seconds left in Game 6, the Bruins led 2-1. Then, in just 17 seconds, the Blackhawks scored twice, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. This remains one of the most shocking turnarounds in NHL history. Before any pucks dropped, the 2013 season was already historic for all the wrong reasons. A bitter labor dispute led to a lockout that delayed the season until mid-January. Instead of the traditional 82-game grind, teams faced a high-stakes 48-game sprint. No warm-up, no easing in, just full-throttle hockey from day one. But even in the chaos, two teams rose above the noise. The Boston Bruins, built on grit and defense, and the Chicago Blackhawks, loaded with firepower and speed. Both squads handled the pressure like champions and carved their path through the regular season with dominance and discipline. The lockout might have changed the format, but it couldn't shake their focus. By the time the playoffs rolled around, it was clear. Boston and Chicago were built differently, and collision was inevitable. Boston's playoff run felt like it was scripted for Hollywood. It all started with one of the most insane comebacks in NHL history. In Game 7 against the Maple Leafs, they were down 4-1 in the third period. The crowd was leaving, the city was quiet. Then, boom. 4 unanswered goals, including a game winner in overtime. The Bruins had clawed their way back from the dead, and Toronto was stunned. With just 13 minutes left, something miraculous happened.
Hands it off, first one is up, rebound, chance in front. Sagan is there, puck up, free, score!
But Boston wasn't done shocking the hockey world. Next came the Pittsburgh Penguins, a team stacked with superstars like Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. The Bruins didn't just beat them, they embarrassed them. A clean sweep, 4 straight wins. They didn't allow a single point from Crosby or Malkin the entire series. Defensive perfection. And all of this unfolded under the shadow of the Boston Marathon bombing. The city was hurting. The team became a symbol of resilience. The Boston Strong rally cry echoed through every arena. This wasn't just a playoff run, it was a mission. With heart, hustle, and a city behind them, the Bruins stormed into the Stanley Cup Final looking unstoppable.
Seabrook with a shot, he scores!
While Boston fought with grit, Chicago was putting on a masterclass in dominance. The Blackhawks came out of the lockout blazing hot, setting an NHL record by going 21-0-3 in their first 24 games. That's right, no regulation losses in nearly half the season. They weren't just good, they looked unbeatable. But every dynasty gets tested, and Chicago faces their cliffhanger. In the second round against the Detroit Red Wings, they fell behind 3-1. Everyone thought the streak was finally over, but champions don't fold. They fight. The Blackhawks clawed back, forcing a Game 7. With everything on the line, they thought they had the winner late in regulation, but it got disallowed. Didn't matter. In overtime, Brent Seabrook buried it. Series 1.
Caves and Cade, 2-on-1, hustling back his point up, a shot, score!
Then came the Kings, the defending champs, and another war. Game 5 of the Western Conference Final went to double overtime. Patrick Kane, calm as ever, delivered the dagger. Hat trick. Series clinched. The Blackhawks weren't just rolling, they were rising towards something special. And with momentum on their side, they headed to the Stanley Cup Final with one goal: finish the job. The Stanley Cup Final kicked off like a heavyweight fight, and Game 1, an instant classic. Triple overtime. Both teams are trading punches, goalies are standing on their heads, and fans are on the edge of their seats. After over 110 minutes of play, Chicago finally broke through. Andrew Shaw deflected a shot past Tuukka Rask, and the Blackhawks drew first blood. But the Bruins weren't going quietly. In Game 2, they punched back with their overtime magic. Daniel Pyle snapped one home, tying the series and shifting the momentum. Game 3, all Boston. Tuukka Rask put on a clinic, earning a shutout while the Bruins dominated defensively. The series was now 2-1 Boston, and Chicago looked like they were running into a brick wall. But here's the thing, This entire final was a chess match. Tight checking, grinding hockey. Every shot, every mistake, every face-off mattered. It wasn't just talent out there. It was heart, strategy, and nerves of steel. The margin for error? Practically zero. That's what made the series so unforgettable. And that tension was only building towards something wild. June 24th, 2013. TD Garden in Boston was electric. Game 6. The Bruins are up 3-2 in the series. Win, and they're Stanley Cup champions on home ice. Fans were chanting. The clock was winding down, and with 1:30 left in regulation, Boston led 2-1. You could taste victory.
He decided to fire it. Here's Sagan inside of the net.
Hat trick. Series clinched. The Blackhawks weren't just rolling, they were rising towards something special. And with momentum on their side, they headed to the Stanley Cup final with one goal. Then Chicago made a decision that changed everything. They pulled Corey Crawford for the extra attacker. Desperation mode. Patrick Kane took the puck, glided into the zone, and drew the Bruins in. He passed it off to Brian Bickle, who was perfectly positioned in front of the net. Goal, tie game, silence. And before Boston could even catch its breath, it happened again. 17 seconds after Bickle's equalizer, the Blackhawks pounced on a Boston turnover. Johnny Oduya fired a shot from the point. It deflected off the post. The puck landed in the crease. Dave Ballin crashed in and slammed it home. 3-2 Chicago, just like that. In 17 seconds, a Stanley Cup went from Boston's hands to Chicago's history. The Bruins were stunned. Their defense, usually so structured and composed, had crumbled under pressure. Missed clears, blown assignments. The kind of mistakes they hadn't made all postseason showed up when it mattered most. The final seconds ticked away, but the Bruins had nothing left. The horn sounded. The Blackhawks poured over the boards in celebration. The cup was theirs. Boston fans just stared in disbelief. It wasn't just a loss, it was a collapse, a nightmare, and one of the most jaw-dropping finishes in Stanley Cup history.
Ahead comes another Jonathan Toews. He scores! Toews!
Even now, over a decade later, Game 6 haunts Boston. It wasn't just losing the cup, it was how fast it slipped away. In just 17 seconds, everything unraveled. It's one of the fastest, most brutal momentum shifts the NHL has ever seen. And it's not like Boston played badly. For most of the game, they had control. Their defense, led by Kara and backed by Rask, was doing what they'd done all playoffs, locking it down. But in the final 90 seconds, that elite structure fell apart, and no one saw it coming. To this day, fans ask, what if? What if the Bruins had held on? What if it went to Game 7? Could they have closed it out in Chicago? But there are no do-overs in hockey, only memories and scars. And that 17-second collapse is a scar that still stings. In a franchise filled with proud moments, this one stands out for all the wrong reasons. For Chicago, it was the stuff of legends. For Boston, it was a masterclass in how quickly things can fall apart and how long that kind of heartbreak can linger. For the Chicago Blackhawks, that 17-second swing didn't just win them a game, it defined an era. It was their second Stanley Cup in 4 years, and it officially marked the beginning of a dynasty. This wasn't a fluke. This was a team built for the big moments. Jonathan Toews, the silent leader, lifted the cup again, proving his captaincy was no accident. Patrick Kane, pure clutch. His creativity and calm under pressure were unmatched. Duncan Keith, the backbone on defense, logged insane minutes and anchored the blue line. And Corey Crawford, he answered every doubt, making the saves when they mattered most. This core group was more than just talent. They had chemistry, leadership, and the killer instinct that teams dream of. Over the next few seasons, they'd win another cup, making it 3 titles in 6 years. That 2013 victory, it was the turning point. The moment the Blackhawks went from contenders to confirmed legends. They didn't just win, they dominated an era. And it all hinged on those 17 seconds in Boston. That miracle moment is now etched into NHL history as one of the greatest finishes the sport has ever seen. Time moves fast in sports, and even dynasties don't last forever. For the Bruins, things shifted. Patrice Bergeron, the heart and soul of the team, eventually hung up his skates, leaving behind a legacy of elite two-way play and unmatched leadership. Tuukka Rask held on a bit longer, giving Boston some more solid seasons in net before retiring as one of the most consistent goalies of his generation. The Blackhawks? Their golden era slowly faded. Duncan Keith moved on, Corey Crawford retired, Jonathan Toews battled health issues and eventually stepped away. But perhaps the most emotional departure? Patrick Kane. After years in Chicago, Kane was traded to Detroit, signaling the end of an iconic run in the Windy City. What's left are memories, banners in the rafters, highlight reels, and legacy-defining moments. New names now fill the rosters, but fans will always look back at that 2013 series as the peak of two incredible teams. And for Chicago especially, those 17 seconds, that was the heartbeat of a dynasty. One wild, chaotic, unforgettable heartbeat. In hockey, a game, or even a championship, can change in seconds. June 24th, 2013 proved that. The Blackhawks' 17-second miracle remains a testament to resilience, while for Boston, it's a brutal reminder. In sports, glory and heartbreak are often separated by mere moments. If this moment gave you chills, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your favorite Stanley Cup memory in the comments. We've got plenty more legendary stories coming your way.